go anywhere without people jumping all over you to do this whole thing. So from what you just said, am I to understand that scams are perfectly legal?
Well, you see, that's just it. I mean, they try to, they try to go in that gray area, right, where they're trying to make an offer to you. But a lot of times, these scams are making a fraudulent offer. They're telling you that you can have this amount, and all you have to do is A, B, and C, when that's not really the case. Or there's information that they're not providing with you. There's misleading information that they're giving you, or it's false advertising. So there are all these things out there. And if something like that happens, certainly an office like the AG's office is someone you want to go to, and we may be able to help you. But a lot of times with these cases, I mean, there are a couple of cases that I've worked on, it takes maybe like a year or two to really be able to get some restitution back for someone. And while we're more than happy to do that type of work, I imagine it's probably easier for all people involved, especially the consumer. You could just try to, notice some of these things.
And the second, well, because that's happened to us on occasion.
Okay.
The other situation is, I've been trying for a whole year to get out of my gym membership, and I'm like locked in, trying to write letters. I mean, I haven't been able to get out of that. So I'm, every month, they charge my account every month, and things like that seem like they're not a big deal, but I can't get out of it.
Right, and if you might not have understood the terms beforehand, that might be a reason.
I've gone to them.
Okay.
There's several situations, so
right.
I don't know if you've helped with those things.
Yeah, well, if you'd like to, we'd be more than happy to talk to you about it a little later on. And as Roberto was saying, we're on the 13th floor. You can file a complaint. Yeah, this building.
Okay.
So maybe we can talk about that later. And right, so those are the three elements that we see. So very quickly, I know that we want to try to make sure I condense the time and don't take up all of today. But I just very quickly want to go through a couple of our common scams. So how many of you have received a call from someone claiming to be the IRS, right? Yeah. Right, you see, and I'm already seeing so many hands up here, and that's why I want to make sure to carve out a little bit of time. And it'll usually work like this, right? So it says, hello, we've been trying to reach you. This call is an official and final notice. And if you don't pay us right now, someone's going to come by tomorrow and arrest you. And first thing we want to make sure you know is that the IRS does not make unsolicited calls, right? And I think, it's good. I see a lot of people shaking their heads, and it's good to make sure some people know that, but a lot of people don't. And just given how many people had their hands up, you can see how prevalent a scam like this is out there. And how many people who are unsuspecting, and they just don't, they want to make sure that they aren't in arrears or that they don't go to jail. So then the next thing they'll do is they'll follow the instructions that the individual might give them, which is to, send this information on a prepaid card or wire the information, wire the money to you right away. And then once they do it, it's just so much harder to try to get that money back. But the main thing you want to remember with the IRS, they will send you notices. They will send you several notices if you owe back taxes, but they won't call you and tell you immediately that if you don't pay right now over the phone, that you're going to be carted off to jail. And I'm going to try to speed through a few of these, but oh, I'm sorry. Yes.
For people who are deaf, we don't hear it on the phone, but what we're getting are text messages saying that they're from the IRS and that we need to respond. And we get the notes that are actually taped on the door that says that you owe money, but we can't answer on the phone, so we're getting text messages. I got one, like, okay, interesting.
Yeah, well, one of the things you can always do if you aren't sure is contact the IRS by yourself. Go to the website, go to the IRS phone number, and call to see if they have some type of file open with you. Right. So that way, you just want to be careful of unsolicited, notices or people coming up to you saying that you owe money. For state agencies, you can always look it up online. You can always call, and if there is an investigation and they are trying to, for example, get money from you, then they will be able to answer that question for you back.
I want to reiterate, if you're concerned and you're not sure, feel free to come to our office and we'll look into it.
Yes.
If you know that this information does not apply to you at all, why? You did say, ain't no community.
Right.
even listen.
Right, that's a good advice too. If you notice this, if you get a call from the IRS, and they're saying that you owe money, as soon as you know it's a scam, don't stay on any longer. I mean, the next thing you know, they may try to keep you offline, and you might not unwittingly give them some information. Well, I know this isn't true because, my grandson Jimmy told me that this isn't correct. And that might bring us to one of our other scams, which is the grandparent scam. So you just never know what information that you'll be another one that we see is prizes that the bank check scams. So I know that I personally have received in the mail just checks out there saying, $11,000 and it has my name on it. I mean, that certainly gets your attention, right? I mean, that's certainly gets back to privacy. And but the thing is, what you want to be careful with this type of scam is they'll usually have a date on there saying, let's say, today is it's May 2016. It'll be post dated for August 2016. And the terms will say, you'll get, let's see, $11,500, but you have to mail us, $1,000 beforehand by July 15th. Sounds reasonable, so coming out with $10,500, right? But the rub is, once you give them that money, first they have some of your bank account information and any other information that are asking to, continue this transaction. But then when you go in August of 2016 to cash it, by then they've taken all that money out, even if it is a real check. So all you've done is give them your bank account information, your personal information, and now you're out $1,000. So when you get that check in there, it might seem tempting, but rip it up and get rid of it. Next. Right, and this is what I was just starting to allude to, this grandparent scam. And the way the grandparent scam will usually work, and I know that this is one of the things I know that NYPD will be probably talking about a little later, but someone will get a call, maybe like 1 or 2 in the morning, and they'll say something to the effect of, hey grandma, or hey grandma, I got in a car accident, and I'm in Mexico, and I need help. There's someone here, and in order for me to get the car taken care of so I can get back on the road or get home, then I need you to give this money to someone. Or I got in trouble and I'm here with the police. And if it isn't a young voice that calls, it might be someone claiming to be this, Jimmy's attorney. And they're saying, we can keep him out of jail if you give us his information right now. Yes?
My wife got a call from a supposedly to be cousin of ours.
Really?
Mexico.
Oh.
And
She's from
$1,000 went.
Yeah, and that's just it. Right, and that's the thing I want to make sure too. I mean, the great thing about seeing all of you here today is that you obviously have an express interest in making sure that you protect yourselves. But what I also want to make sure is that when you're with your friends and they tell you like, oh, guess what, I got a check in the mail saying I got $11,000, or they're talking about different scams that are out there, I want you to be able to tell them, hey, this is probably a scam, and these are the reasons why you can tell it. So yeah, it's really sad when we hear these stories about people who get these phone calls. But the more we can do to really try to protect ourselves beforehand, the better. And yeah, just very briefly, when you're on the telephone, just make sure you don't give out your personal information. You got to remember, telemarketers, they're only able to call between 8 a.m. and 9 p.m. So if you get a call at any other time, they're saying they're a telemarketer. It's probably not legit. And make sure you're not pressured into making a financial commitment on the phone. And this kind of goes to what the young lady was saying earlier today, which is that you want to make sure that you don't feel pressured to stay on the phone, because they're going to try to keep you on and try to get you to change your mind or see why this is a reason why you should give them extra information about you. Even if they think that they won't be able to get you to agree to this particular scam, if they can get extra information about you, the next time they call, because I promise you, now that they have the number and they know you're a real person, they will call again, and they will have another rules in place. So, yes, and a lot of this goes to this issue of identity theft. Who here is familiar with Preet Bharara, who's a U.S. attorney? Okay, great. So Preet Bharara is the U.S. attorney, and he's been doing a lot of great work. He's in a different office. But one of the things that was always interesting to me is he said as soon as he got into office that the number one issue that he sees in that he thinks he needs to be able to protect people against is cybercrime. And at the very base of cybercrime, what it is a different type of identity theft. So you want to make sure that you shred statements with their personal information. I'm not sure how many of you are aware, but I think it was about 3 or 4 weeks ago, the AG's office was sponsoring a program where we had a shredder truck out there that was just shredding people's information for you. That was just on the corner of an Attic Lane Powell right next to the State Building. So even if you don't have a shredder yourself, there are other ways to make sure you carefully get rid of your information. Make sure you keep your information private. I think that's kind of a theme that we've been talking about. And make sure you try to review your bank card, your bank and credit statement, so that if you see something that looks amiss, you can really try to nip it in the bud as soon as possible. And yeah, with that said, you are now a smart senior. So thank you very much. Oh, I'm sorry. Yes, I'll go here.
So do you have this presentation?
I feel like maybe at some point, maybe Roberto is,
So we can always tailor a presentation for a particular audience. So if you have a Spanish dominant audience, we'd like for us to deliver a Spanish language presentation.
right.
Does it matter what borough? No. Okay.
The good thing about the AG's office, so we're the regional office for the Harlem and Bronx area, but we also have an office that takes care, for example, like Brooklyn, Queens, and just all through the state of New York. So it's not us personally, it's really someone else. Okay, well, that would
Question.
yes.
Excuse me, question.
Yes. Okay, let me go here and then hurry up and here, this house.
I would like to say that anything you say on the telephone is information. Anything. You can say a lot because when they keep people on the phone, you're going to give them some information that's valuable.
Right.
If you don't know. The next thing is a trick that I play on people.
Don't say anything that makes us prosecute you.
I play the hard hearing thing. Yesterday, I was approached on the street. The fellow was saying something about, if you have Medicare, I can get so-and-so for you. He didn't know I heard him, but I pretend I don't hear them and just keep going. Don't stop. You don't hear them. A lot of seniors are hard of hearing, and it works.
Right, and I will say, while I know we don't specialize in Medicaid fraud, we have a Medicaid unit that really handles these types of things. So it's not something that our particular office may be able to help with. There's so many bureaus within the AG's office that specialize in different types of fraud that maybe there's someone else who's able to help if you know a particular fraud. Yes, Maria.
My mother, when she was living with Jersey Police, she got a call from a health, basically knowing that she had health providers with another company, and they talked her into changing her health provider over the telephone. So, but they had this information, in terms of whatever health provider she was using. They had that information. They were able to convince her that theirs was better. Of course, she didn't understand it. I took her to a doctor about 3 weeks later and found out that her health insurance, she was no longer with that company. I was able to get it transferred back, but it was interesting. You're talking about a legal scam. Someone comes calling with your information, and my mother, she's home during the day. She's going to talk.
Right, exactly.
And again, it's almost like a legal scam, but companies calling seniors and actually having them change their policies. So I don't know if there's any agencies that, or laws that providers can't just call, the business.
Yeah, I don't know specifically about some of the health. I guess I need to know a little bit more about the details.
Yeah.
But I imagine there may be someone either in our office that may be able to explain a little bit more, or at least maybe But yeah, I mean that really highlights this point that you really have to be careful. And on top of that, I think scam artists do try to target seniors because one, I think a lot more seniors nowadays are more likely to have landlines. I know me, I know a lot of other people who just have our cell phones. And it seems like a lot of these scams especially come from people calling landlines. And they just want to try and target people who are more likely to maybe try to speak with them during the day. And so, again, like the more you can be careful, the more you can help, tell other people, make sure people you know are careful, the better. Sorry, we'll go this way and then go back to here. Yes, there was a question here in the back.
Oh, for me, yeah. This presentation, thank you, but can you tailor it for the deaf community? No one ever provides the information for deaf seniors. The example of the video that was shown wasn't captioned. So if you have a senior who's losing their hearing and they don't realize it or they're not willing to admit it, the captioning would help so that they could read what was being said. And, to go out and actively present that information to deaf seniors would be great because they are a population that gets taken advantage of most of the time anyway. So they need this.
Okay, yeah, that's a very valid statement. If you want, I know that this was one of the shorter videos, and I think we'd be happy to at least be able to put it, if we have your contact information, we could probably just transcribe it and send it to you. But we'll try to make sure, and I'll definitely try to look into that and see if that's more of a possibility. Yes, ma'am.
Also, there are times you may get a call, so supposedly a legitimate call, you answer, and then on the phone, you may see a lot of digits. You say hello, and then you won't hear anything, you don't hang up. Then maybe an hour later, you get the call again, no answer. But there, not only is the phone number visible, but across it, you may have 15 different digits. I would suggest that you should hang up the phone and then call back later, maybe a half hour, an hour later. And a lot of times, you'll get a recording saying that that phone is disconnected. And that call may come in 3, 4, 5, 6 times in one day, repetitively throughout the week.
Wow.
And you cannot, and I'm telling you what, something that I've experienced. But because I have a lot of experience in terms of phone, one of the areas, phone contact, how to decipher it, I know better. But again, if I call the company, the phone company, to find out about this number, the number basically is non-existent. So then I'm saying for people who are not as,
Savvy.
yeah, savvy, they're smart, but they're not savvy maybe in that area. I'm not savvy in a lot. It might be it is compromising and challenging. And it makes you feel really like, after a while, oh goodness, what is this? And you become afraid. So then when they need to answer a phone, a lot of times seniors will not answer the phone when they might need to answer because they're afraid that it may be someone trying to check them out or do them harm.
Right. Yeah, and I guess that's a very good point. The one thing I guess I'd probably say is if you aren't sure about something, just think about certain people who you trust, maybe as a family member, if it's like your daughter, your son, or whoever it is. If you aren't sure about something, you can always reach out to them, or if you aren't sure about something, you could also call our office, and we'd be happy to try to take a look at that. So that's a new one. I wasn't familiar with that. So the more information that we have about what's going on in the community, the more we could try to start to vet this out and see what we can do to either protect people beforehand or maybe launch an investigation or another. So, yes. Yeah, I guess that is. Oh, I'm sorry. I guess I can go to that. No problem. Okay, great. Well, I don't want to take up too much time for everyone else. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Jason. I see Senator Perkins has walked into the room. Senator Perkins, would you like to come up and say a few words? Because you do.
Morning. That's two. Good to see you. Especially when you're smiling and when you have such distinguished presenters. So, good to meet you.
Thank you, Senator Perkins. Giovanni from the Borough President's Office is going to come up and say a few words. Thank you.
Good morning, everyone. On behalf of my Borough President Gail Board, whose prior commitment did not allow her to be here with us, I bring you greetings. I would like to take this opportunity to thank Tamara Martin, chair of the Community Board Public Safety Committee, and the Community Board itself, and also the different city and state agencies, including the New York State Attorney General's office, the Manhattan DA's office, the NYPD Community Affairs Office, and the local prison for coming together in this great effort. This is an opportunity for seniors to get an update on the different services and resources available to them here in their own community. So I'm looking forward to hearing your concerns, and I'm looking forward to continue working with the different city and state agencies in helping you become smart seniors. Thank you.
Gail Blue's office has a book that's out in the full page up for something about information that's within the New York City Times, agencies that you call to need help for, different names and numbers. Is that your office that has that book?
We have a booklet, that we put out in Spanish and English, and we have copies in the back table.
Okay.
And if you need whatever amount you need, we have boxes of them that we can send to you.
All right, thank you.
You're welcome.
Okay.
Thank you.
No, I need to put that out.
Thank you, Giovanni.
Thank you.
Our next speaker is Melanie Chan. She's the Elder Abuse Unit Coordinator and Assistant to the Chief at the Elder Abuse Unit in the New York County District Attorney's Office. And they deal with investigating elder abuse cases in trial and investigation in the Trial Investigation Division, including financial exploitation, physical abuse, domestic violence, and neglect. Melanie Chan.
Thank you for having us here today. Jason covered a lot of what I was going to say, so I don't want to be repetitive. I'm just going to talk a little bit about what the Manhattan DA's office does and kind of reiterate a few of the scams and then things to NYPD. So the Manhattan DA's office defines elder abuse as any crime where the victim is 60 years of age or older. And we get cases usually after an arrest has been made. We work very closely with NYPD. But we do also get referrals. We've gotten referrals from the AG's office. We get them from different agencies, Department for the Aging, Adult Protective Services, hospitals. We get hotline calls from citizens and concerned relatives, family, friends, and even landlords. So that's how we get our cases. I'm the Elder Abuse Unit Coordinator. I screen a lot of the cases, so when you call the hotline and you leave a message, I'm the person who's going to return your call, and I help to investigate. I also kind of function as an investigative analyst. I assisted district attorneys in working with our social services agencies, particularly with the Department for the Aging, Carter Burton Center, and Adult Protective Services. My office is also involved in several multidisciplinary teams, so we try to troubleshoot a lot of cases that way. The types of cases that we see sex crimes and domestic violence, but by and large, we see a lot of financial exploitation. That covers a lot of different things. It could be, someone on the street who mugged an elder, or it could be someone like a home health aide who has been stealing from you, or it could be someone who, even a banker or an accountant. Usually financial exploitation, the financial exploitation we see involves someone that, people trust, someone who's been in your life for a really long time, and they have access to all this information. Like I mentioned before, like a home health aide. They help you with everything, and they have access to finances, or they might take you to the bank or something. So these are people that you trust, and in some instances these are also the exploiters that we see. So a lot of the hotline calls and a lot of the complaints that have been coming through lately that I've seen are scams. And Jason covered so many of them already. So I'm just going to reiterate some of them. One that we've seen a lot because it's just after tax time is the IRS scam. People will call and they'll say, oh, you owe money, but generally speaking, and I think the NYPD can back me up on this, we usually, I don't think that they call people before they arrest them. There's not really that kind of warning. So if you get calls like that, if you're really concerned, definitely go to, there's I think there's IRS offices where you can, like regional offices where you can speak to someone there to find out whether or not this is the case, or if you know, like she said, hang up on them. There's no need to talk to these people. Other scams we've seen, lottery scams, that's probably the most prevalent. People will say, oh, you've won $50 million, you just have to pay taxes on them, please send us $5,000. And they'll tell you to wire it and stuff like that. A large problem with all of these scams is once the money leaves the country, and very often they do leave the country, it is very hard to get back. It's really, really hard to get back. I know that the FBI has a very high threshold for, I think that it's $1 million. I'm not entirely sure, so don't quote me on that. But it's very hard to recover the money. If you haven't actually entered a lottery, it's very unlikely someone will just call you and tell you that you won the lottery. But that's another scam we've seen. And the one that, the third one, which Jason already talked about, is a grandparent scam, which is really frightening. And they really prey on this element of love and care that you have for your relative. And they cause you to panic, and they'll say, don't tell mom and dad, I'm sorry, I'm in a lot of trouble, can you just wire me the money? And a lot of times we've definitely had people go to the police, but again, once it leaves the country, it's very, very hard to remove that money back. So I think I just sped through everything I had to say. So if you have any questions, please feel free. We have an office here in Harlem, one in Washington Heights, and our main office is downtown. And there's the Elder Abuse Unit hotline. If you leave a message, I'll give you a call back. If you have any questions or anything like that, please feel free to give me a call. The number is on the pamphlets that we have in the back, but it's 212-335-9007. Any questions?
Yes.
Yes.
It's not a question, it's just added on to what you said, which is what we've heard. People say that you owe money. Another verbiage would be that that I've heard, it was said to me, that before the lawsuit was being supposedly drawn against me, and this was my last opportunity, I guess to pay whatever they thought that I was supposed to pay. But I got that call about 3 or 4 times. I immediately knew what it was about. It was about nothing. But I just wanted to see if they would want to continue with this. So I called to find out from IRS. And they told me, no, I called IRS, and they said there was nothing, which I knew there was nothing. So any other further calls that I received, I just didn't answer. If I was home, I just didn't bother.
Yeah, that is.
A lawsuit will make you, if you don't know, will get you quite nervous to, kind of, what is this, do I owe money or whatever,
Really quite anxious, yeah, and that stresses a lot of people out. So absolutely, to ignore the calls if you're getting them and you know that there's no basis for them.
Absolutely.
And if you have any questions, you definitely should call the agency. If credit card companies are calling and saying that you owe money, and you know that you paid off your credit card. Call the number on the back of the credit card. They will tell you, because if you owe money, they will send you a lot of notices to say, hey, so your bills are not paid, please pay them. So, yes.
So, do they ever catch these people?
In some instances, I think that they have, but it is very, very difficult because a lot of times, and I think that
Are you speaking from the perspective of the police department? Or
no, from the
I also want
district
to hear them
attorney.
respond to that.
Yes, from the district attorney's office.
Okay.
There's a lot of times we have had cases where we are able to catch people, but it's often, someone else who's been on the receiving end of the scam, and you know, like
But
they
you
felt
say,
it.
well, how do you catch them, for instance? Give me an idea how do they get caught? Do you have to sort of bait them and then catch them, or?
No, I mean, it could be like a victim will say, like, oh, I got a call and they said if I drop off the check, they'll be there to pick it up. So there's a lot of times where we may work with, we have a NYPD squad within the Manhattan DA's office. We have our own investigators. We do work with the local precincts where we can coordinate, and we, you know, if the person actually shows up, we may be able to arrest them.
So there have been some arrests in that way?
Yes, there have been some arrests, but again, a lot of times these people don't show up. And you know, a lot of times they're not even in the country, the calls. I'm sure some of you, if you've seen these calls on your caller ID and you've seen the first 3 digits, these are not local numbers that are coming in. Or if they are, they're like Google numbers that are being used to contact people nonstop.
Excuse me.
Yes?
If I may add to the number thing before we lose. And if you have, I'm Officer Clifford, I'm the crime prevention officer in the 263. If, say for example, if these calls come in and they said, oh, if you want to, you know, be sure you could call this number back. Do not call those numbers that they're providing you with. Say for example, if it's IRS. If you don't know the number, just hang up your phone, call 311 and get that number, that correct number. Because with all this technology, they could create a number to make it seem as if it is within either Con Ed or IRS and so on and so forth. Just hang your phone up. Don't go through with anything that this potential person is providing you. All right?
Something that we've also noticed, a lot of times, like a lot of you, I'm sure, have had your phone numbers for a really long time. I mean, I've had my own cell phone number for more than 10 years. My parents have had a landline for more than 20, and I know my grandparents have had it for like 50 years now. And when that sort of information, like when you've had it for a long time, sometimes like white pages, or like if you look it up online, it'll say more information, honestly, than there should be. But that's publicly available information. So some people will say, we'll see your like maybe first initial or last name or your full name, your landline phone number, and sometimes it'll list your age, which, you know, makes it very easy for some of these scammers. You know, they know the general region of where you live. White pages gives a lot of information. So, you know, that's something to be aware of, that, you know, they may already know more information than you'd like them to.
Okay, then, adding on to what you just said, a lot of times you may go to events. It could be a summit, it could be a forum, it could be a presentation, it could be a community event, and they have lines across with your name, first name, last name, address, email, any private contact information. Unfortunately, everybody that comes to these events are not necessarily have the ethics or integrity, and they may look like it because they have on a suit or they have a smile or they have a title. We may just, you know, automatically say, okay, this is, you know, we don't think about it, because you don't think about stuff like that. But actually, and these pages are down, take down, or they're on a clipboard, and people come and they, you know, take down information, or it's passed around. You never know. So, I don't know, it's not being paranoid. You do have to, you know, you don't want to go crazy off the cuff.